correctly. Vicki Haake, I gave it a shot, is a, I'm sorry?
That was right.
Oh, well, all right, I win. Okay. Vicki Haake is a Senior Director of Estate and Gift Planning at the American Cancer Society located in Hershey, PA. Her goal is to help concerned supporters reach their philanthropic and personal goals by providing giving options to them and their professional advisors. Vicki is a graduate of York College of Pennsylvania and earned her paralegal certification from Penn State University. Vicki is currently on the board of the Financial Planning Association, the Central Pennsylvania Estate Planning Council, and the York County Estate Planning Council. She is a member of the Hershey Rotary Club. Vicki lives in Campbelltown, PA with her husband and has 2 daughters and 1 grandson. Vicki, take it away.
Okay, before I start, do I just click the share button to get my screen to share?
Yes, and then if you have multiple screens, you can pick which screen you want to share.
Okay, so I'm going to click share, and then
We can see your screen.
And everyone see that? All right, terrific. Let me just put this down. Oops, that did not work for me.
And are you working with one screen or 2?
There we go. Okay, I'm working on one.
If the GoToMeeting panel's in your way, you can minimize that by the 2 little arrows that point to each other in the upper right corner.
Okay, that's all right. I'm going to leave it in this view, even though it shows my next slide, just because I'm afraid to mess with it right now. But thank you so much for hosting me today. Thanks to Steve Bell, because Steve and I had talked about me speaking at your club, oh gosh, a couple of times in the last few years, so I'm excited that I'm actually here today. I also wanted to mention before I start what an amazing partner to the American Cancer Society that Lancaster County has been for so long. The Relay for Life event that we hold each year, except this year, has been number 5 in the nation, and that's number 5 over thousands of events, and has been number 1 in Pennsylvania for many years. And in addition to that, the Road to Recovery program, where a volunteer driver is matched with a cancer patient to get them to treatment, the Lancaster County area has an unbelievably active program with amazing volunteers. So I just want to give a shout out to Lancaster County for all that you do for the American Cancer Society. So let's see if I can get this to go. Okay, I want to talk about 3 things today. I'm going to keep an eye on my watch here. The impact of COVID-19 on cancer patients and the American Cancer Society. The main message today was to be about the HPV, human papillomavirus, and the American Cancer Society's mission to make the HPV cancer-free initiative, and how we hope to work with Rotary in the years ahead in that endeavor. And then also just briefly touch on what my role is at the Cancer Society. So the impact of COVID-19 on cancer patients has been pretty significant. We did a survey of cancer patients that either call in or filled out a survey for us, and what we found was that 87% of cancer patients said that their healthcare has been affected in some way. And those in active treatment reported that their healthcare and cancer therapy have been delayed. Nearly 1 in 4 say that the pandemic has made it more difficult to get in touch with their healthcare providers and have their healthcare needs addressed. And 1 in 5 say that they're worried that their cancer could be growing or returning due to the delay and interruptions caused by the COVID-19 outbreak, which means they can't get to treatment. I know several people that their doctor said, don't come near the hospital. And when you're in the middle of treatment and you're told you can't get treatment, it's pretty scary. The economic impact said 46% of COVID patients are afraid they're going to, their financial situation is going to be impacted and they won't be able to pay for their care. But if you look at my slide here, you see that 38% feel that way anyway. I mean, when you have cancer, concerns about how to pay for your treatment is a big concern. And many are concerned about losing their health care because people are being laid off and laid off permanently during this time, and it's just a very stressful time. That also led to asking about mental health issues and how they're feeling, and half of the patients say that they have moderate or major effects on their mental health. And many are concerned about what's going to happen once everything opens up. I mean, we're all anxious to get out and be active and be around our friends and colleagues and other Rotarians, and cancer patients are very concerned about what that means for them because they just don't have the ability to fight infections like a healthy person does. So just wanted to give you an update on where, people that are dealing with cancer and all that they have to worry about right now. But the really big thing that the Cancer Society's been working with over the last, I'm going to say 15 years, has been educating people about the human papilloma virus and the vaccine that we have for that. How many times working at the Cancer Society have I heard people say, why don't you have a cure? Why isn't there an answer? We've been working on cancer for over 100 years. Well, this vaccine will prevent 6 cancers. So when you think about what that means, it is a very significant vaccine that has far-reaching ramifications to the United States and the world. So it's one of the biggest things that's going on right now. So the HPV, the human papilloma virus, causes 6 cancers. And in the United States, 30,000 cases of cancer related to this virus occur each year. But when you look at the world, 530,000 cases just of the one type of cancer, which is cervical cancer, occur each year. So this vaccine that we have and we know is effective could save a lot of lives and prevent that many cancers throughout the world. So the vaccine is known to cure over 90% of the HPV cancers through our vaccination program. So it prevents 6 types of cancer. It is safe. It's been tested for a long time, and it is a safe vaccine. And it's recommended for our kids and our grandkids who are age 11 and 12, and both boys and girls. So this is something that you have to really be a visionary to understand, because what happens is you're not thinking about cancer when kids are 11 and 12, but you have to get them vaccinated before they come in contact with the human papilloma virus. So getting those, getting the vaccination early is just key to this working. So what we're trying to do with our mission called HPV Cancer Free is increase the vaccinations around the globe. And I have the name Mike here because a fellow Rotarian in the Hershey Rotary Club has the HPV. He has the virus. About 15 years ago, he had throat cancer. So Mike had, he has a big scar on his neck because they had to go in and remove the cancer, and he had to have all kinds of therapies done. And that was all because of this HPV. Well, about 4 years ago, the cancer came back, and it came back on his tongue. So they took a very small portion of his tongue. A couple of years later, it came back again. More of his tongue had to be removed. They took some part of his thigh, the skin from his thigh, to rebuild his tongue. He recovered from that, had other issues with the new tongue, had to have more surgeries, and we just found out about 2 months ago that it had come back again. And this is all from the HPV. So he's now, just last week, he completed his therapy, his chemotherapy for this recurrence. And Mike has the biggest smile and the biggest heart of anyone I know, and he is slated to be our president next year. And it is very difficult for him to speak because, you know, when your tongue is not your tongue, it's very difficult. But he doesn't stop. He just keeps on speaking. He doesn't, I mean, he's up in front of our group every week, except while he's been in treatment recently. And this is just a case of something, if they had this vaccine when he was young and he had it, he wouldn't be going through any of this. So really can see by looking at our friend Mike, you know, the impact of this HPV. So the strength of the American Cancer Society make this vaccine viable is we have 107 years this year of fighting cancer. We have expertise as a conveyor. We are good at reaching out to the communities, the doctors, to get the information out about this vaccine. We have a history of being successful in our endeavors, and we have great brand recognition. So we're hoping that those will help to even increase more the number of people that get the vaccine. These are just some of the publications that we have about what it is, what the vaccine is, what the virus is, so that we can educate people about that. And all these materials are available at cancer.org, or I could send them to you if you'd like to read more about that. I really hope that you'll all leave here today and ask your kids, or check and make sure your kids have had the vaccine, or talk to your grandchildren or your kids about your grandchildren to make sure that they're aware of it, because it really is a safe and easy way to prevent 6 cancers. So in the United States, my kids are now in their 30s. So when they were teens, this was just coming out. And both of my daughters had the vaccine. Originally, it was just for girls. Now it's for girls and boys. But as you can see, only 66% of adolescents in the United States are getting the vaccine. And because it's a series, it's more than one shot, only 49% have received the full series. And so we want to protect our children, and this is something we're trying to get out there and get to be just part of the regular vaccine schedule when you go to your doctors. The 2 things I want you to know about it at the end of my presentation today is just that the vaccine is safe, and number 2, that it prevents cancer. So even though we know that this information here in the United States, the information hasn't gotten to the lower and middle income countries. Now, the more advanced countries, the wealthier countries, are doing actually a better job of vaccinating their people than the United States is. So we're trying to get better here in the United States, but also work to get this vaccine out to other countries. 85% of cervical cancers occur in the less developed regions. So this vaccine could prevent 90% of that. 39 is the number of countries in which cervical cancer is the most common cause of cancer among women. In the United States, our most common type of cancer for women is breast cancer. The most deadly type of cancer is lung cancer. And lung cancer is also the most deadly type for men. So I heard, I think it was Jenny talk about the polio program at Rotary, which every single Rotarian in the world is involved in. I didn't know how educated your group was about it, so I just thought I'd put some information out here just to reiterate what Rotary does with the vaccine for polio. So the Rotary Club has been working for 30 years to rid the world of it forever. Right now, we are at 99.9% of reduction in polio cases. And there's 3 more countries that still have polio cases in them, and so the Rotary Club must continue until we are 100% polio free. And the one statistic that I heard Jenny mention as well is how important it is that we continue, because the last sentence here on my slide says if all eradication efforts stop today, within 10 years, polio could paralyze as many as 200,000 children each year. So the vaccination program through Rotary really must continue. And so I love this little sticker here, because someday it's going to be 100% gone, and we can say goodbye to polio, and it's thanks to the Rotary Club. So the Cancer Society's goal with collaboration is to end death from cervical cancer in a worldwide fashion. And to do that, we do need help. We need to work with others. And because of the Rotary's great vaccination delivery program, they are a perfect partner for the American Cancer Society to continue that kind of work. The Cancer Society has been working on an international level with Rotary, discussing the possibility of Rotary taking on the vaccination for HPV. The Rotary Club had a booth at the convention last year, and we had been planning to go to Hawaii this year and be at that convention as well to try and stir up some interest in Rotary taking on this as maybe their next big vaccination program. Although, from reading the last slide, you don't ever want to quit, with the polio vaccines either. One of the big drawbacks of the HPV vaccine is the cost. I don't know if you're aware of how much the polio vaccine costs, but the polio vaccine, according to what I found yesterday online, was between 10 and 13 cents per dose. And at this point, the HPV vaccination is $4.50 per dose. That is a huge, huge increase, and is probably something that we're going to have to see be reduced in cost even more as we try and get this vaccine out to everyone in these lower developed countries. So that's what we have to deal with. But we're hoping, and a lot of prayers going out about the ACS and Rotary working together at some point in the future. I know with the way COVID is right now, a lot of our programs have had to be stopped. Just like you, we don't want to infect anyone. So we have Hope Lodges. We have a Hope Lodge in Hershey and in Philadelphia. Those are closed currently because we don't want cancer patients to have one cancer patient come in with it and infect everyone else who's got low immunity. And our Road Recovery Program, which I mentioned how wonderful it is in Lancaster County, that program is also temporarily halted. So we're really anxious to get back up and running. Of course, if it had to happen, right now a lot of people's doctor's appointments are canceled, so there's not as great a need right now. But just like any other organizations, we are just so anxious for us to be safely out there in the community. And the final thing I just wanted to mention briefly is the role of planned giving for the American Cancer Society. I know Rotary has a planned giving group as well, but planned giving is the #1 source of revenue for the American Cancer Society. It has been for the last 3 years. And what planned giving means is when someone decides to put the American Cancer Society in their will or their trust, a beneficiary of a life insurance policy, an IRA, an investment, or our charitable gift annuity program. So when we're thinking about fueling and funding our mission, planned giving has become a pretty important place at the Cancer Society, especially now as all of our events have either been canceled, postponed, or gone virtual. And I'm sure you know from your fundraising events, going virtual does not bring in the support for the organizations that a regular event does. So looking forward to the days when we're all back out in the communities and can spend time face to face again. That's all that I had to present today. I am open to questions if anyone wants to ask me anything. If I don't know the answer, I can get back to you, but life has changed so much for all of us right now. We're all trying to find ways to continue to do our important work, and that's where we are at the Cancer Society as well. And I know a lot of other charities are the same. Anybody have any questions for me today?
I have one. Do you have to be 11 or 12, or does it do any good if you're any older than that?
They want you to have it before you're 17 at the latest, simply because if you have any contact with the virus, the vaccine is not as effective. So that's the main reason of getting people when they're young. But yes, and I think some places will do it up until you're in your early 20s.
I was curious how many shots are in the series, that they need to have all of them, or can you have just the first one and be immune, or?
You're not immune unless you have the full series, and I believe it's 2 shots. And I think if you're older, if you go in later in, like in your late teens to do it, they might give you a 3rd, but generally 2 shots.
Thank you.
Vicki, how does the HPV spread? Because now we know way too much, more than we ever thought, about how respiratory viruses spread. And I wish I would have gone through life not knowing what droplets are. But how does the HPV spread?
It is a sexual transmission.
Okay.
That's why they want to get kids young before they are active. And it's said that almost 4 out of 5 people get the virus, but most people, there's no cure for it, but a lot of people's bodies just are able to rid itself of the virus throughout, a period of time. I don't know what the period of time is, but those that don't, those that can't fight that virus off internally are the ones that are at risk for it turning into a cancer.
Vicki, do we know how long this virus has been around?
I do not know that, no. That's a question that I will find out, though.
Is this virus the sole cause of the 6 cancers that you brought up, or are there other inputs that can cause those?
Well, because they feel that it cures over 90% of the cancers, it is I don't know if it's assumed because I'm not a scientist, but they feel that almost all of the people that get these types of cancers, including cervical cancer, are from the virus. There may be a few cases out there that are caused by something else, but for the vast majority, over 90%, it is caused by this virus.
So Vicki, you're saying if you have this vaccination, then you are protected against getting these particular cancers. Is that right?
That's right.
This is a tremendous development.
And it's not
do you have any comments to make about the anti-vaxxer lobby group?
I have read some amazing things on the internet about the vaccine where people are saying you'll die if you take this. But we have done a ton of research, and the information that I'm given is that it is safe. There have been no deaths from this vaccine and no significant side effects.
Can you be tested to know if you have the virus?
I think you can. It can be tested. But by the time you have it, it's not going to protect you anymore from the cancer. So I want you to get it early.
Yeah.
Vicki. So when my children got this, they're in their 20s, so it was really early on. And one of the obstacles was, I remember me being shell-shocked in talking about sexual activity when it was me as a parent that really wasn't prepared to be discussing, the possibility of like sexual activity. So, how do you get over that hurdle? Like, that's been a long time since they've had it. I'm sure you guys have figured out ways for the doctors to integrate that kind of discussion earlier on.
So I'm not sure that the conversation about sexual activity needs to occur when you give the vaccine. Maybe you did because your girls were older, but I don't think because of the age of the people that are getting the vaccine that conversation happens at that point. But you can talk to your doctor, your individual personal doctor, about what your preferences are and, you know, how much information or what you should disclose to the kids, or and use your doctor.
That was the way it was introduced. It was introduced that you could do this because before they become sexually active, and I was kind of like shell shocked.
That's the thing about this vaccine is it does have to be before that time, and
right.
So when, you know, none of us want to think about our kids.
Yeah.
So I mean, I certainly didn't. I did, when I got the vaccine for my kids, I didn't even realize that it had anything to do with sexually transmitted virus or anything like that. So I think it really depends on your doctor and your doctor's office what they share. So if you have concerns about what's being shared, you could always have a conversation with them before you go in, or set them aside, because it is sensitive. For, I mean, at 11 and 12, that's not a conversation that I want to have with my kids either.
Well, and that was so early on. I was just saying that it seems so ridiculous why you wouldn't get the vaccine. But I know I'm just saying at the early stages, that was a barrier to get parents to get over, that barrier to give that. I mean, I got over it,
Right.
But it wasn't an easy, you know, when you go in there like, oh, you're going to have your measles, mumps, rubella, you just go, okay, that's what we're doing. And there was this discussion, and I'm just saying, I didn't know how over the last 12 years, how that's progressed.
I really think it all depends on your doctor, you know, and how they address it. So I don't think the Cancer Society has a lot of control. I know that when we are told not to necessarily bring up the way that it's transmitted, because it has some bad connotations about it, because, you know, if you're getting cancer from this virus, you know, it can have some bad connotations, and we don't want that. We don't want those, you know, people to feel they've done anything wrong, you know, that they got the cancer and things like that. So it's a very sensitive topic for sure.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Do you have any other questions? Well, thank you very much, Vicki, for joining us, and that was very good to hear that. It's amazing what we can prevent if we just get vaccines. And of course, you can tell I'm a pro-vaccine person.
Well, I want to mention one other thing, just because I live in a neighborhood, and we have a neighborhood Facebook page, and somebody early on mentioned that their spouse was going through cancer treatments, and you know, when they were outside, they were wearing a mask because they were very sensitive about getting any kind of germs at all. And they mentioned that they were getting ridiculed and made fun of by other people, which it's hard for me to believe that people are that insensitive. But just be aware that if there's people walking around and they still have their mask on months from now, that it may not be just because they're concerned about COVID-19. They may actually be, you know, cancer patients. Because I don't know if you've seen a change, but back in the day, you could tell a cancer patient. They had no hair, they were pale, you know, they looked sickly. Today, people are getting more targeted therapies. They don't necessarily appear to be ill from the chemo and radiation or whatever they're doing. So just wanted to put that out there. You see them with the mask, it could be much more than what you think when you first see them.
Good point.
Very good point.
All right. Thank you so much. I'm just going to hang on here until you're done, but thanks so much for having me. It's been great. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
Yeah, I want to give a plug to everybody to talk to Vicki, ask her financial questions if you'd like, especially in this era of interest rates next to zero. the idea of a gift annuity, which is a vehicle that will pay income for life, and then afterwards the residual gift to the American Cancer Society, I think is a better and better plan giving opportunity all the time. And please use Vicki as a resource for questions about that.
Thanks, Steve. I do want to say that I have seen an uptick in charitable gift annuities in the last several months, and the rates are going down on July 1. They're being reduced. So if anyone's interested in Cancer Society or whatever your favorite charity is, and you're thinking about a gift annuity, reach out to your charities now to get a better rate than what you will later in the year. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you. Vince, you've changed. You grew more hair.
Yeah.
Never looked so good.
An improvement. Okay, thank you very much. Anybody have anything else for the good of Rotary? We still have some time.
Steve needs a haircut.
Me too. Me three.
Hey, I got mine last night from my wife.
All right.
It works.
I got a scissor. Robin, you've got it made. It just grows longer and longer. Perfect.
I spent 15 years waiting to find the benefit of not having any hair.
Yeah.
There you go.
I don't want to talk about it.
My dog's hair looks worse than mine because I'm chicken to cut hers. Well,
All right.
thank you
Thanks,
for coming.
everybody.
I do want to say that it is much more fun to come to a Rotary meeting barefoot than wearing heels. And but I miss you all. Thanks to everybody.
So long all.
Bye, everyone.
See you.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
See you, all of you. God bless.
Bye.
Take care.
Thank you.